Okay, so what I'm first going to do is I'm going to re-sing this song, but I am going to sing along with a YouTube version of it from the university singers from University of North Texas College Concerts. And this is their version of Rosas Pandan. So I'm going to sing along with it and then go over it. So what I noticed, what I do a lot of times is that, for example, dal yangmong agkagbug now, I always change it to da. So it's generally the a and the o sound, but I generally change it to da yangmong. I think generally because of how quickly it goes by. And then the other thing was obviously garbosa, which I keep saying garbosa, but I don't know if it even has a rolled R or if it's even being pronounced. As I had written in my notes, there was something about garbosa, and somebody who speaks Ilocano in my choir was correcting everybody on how to pronounce that word. And she kept saying gabosa. So I don't know if it's supposed to be gabosa, and I don't think it's garbosa, but sometimes I would sing it as garbosa. So I'm going to open it up again and look over the music just in general. So let me get my drive open. I think part of it too was that part of it was not memorized, so I just started singing gibberish just a second ago. But if we look over it, we have awing ga labing kara angaga bosa. I also noticed that the nga sound, which is very hard, I think, for a lot of singers or people that their native tongue is English. I think that's going to be harder. Because it's not native to us and it's harder for us to understand or be able to pronounce correctly. So a lot of times, will be a lot harder to pronounce. Kara angaga bosa. A lot of times the nga, because I sometimes, it kind of goes from the previous part of the word. So you have kara anga. So I always just say karanga, garbosa, atong kabung turan. What's also fun about this song is that there's just a lot of ticketing. Aya, so that one too, ayay. It's supposed to be ayay sa kong balitao, but a lot of times I say aya. I think it's interesting that I am also doing that naturally, where I know what it's supposed to be. However, I am changing the pronunciation to fit the singing of it. Let me look over the rest of it. Manindot baog sayaw. That one is actually pronounced pretty well because I think there's enough time to sing it. So if you go over the music, there's a lot more time to just kind of sing and just stay on yaw. Manindot baog sayaw. So there's a lot more time to be able to sing that. Now, the thing is that the dao is on a 16th note, which makes it a lot harder. Because the other one it's a quarter plus a dotted eighth. So that's a lot longer. But then if you just get a 16th note, that makes it harder. So if you're going from Manindot baog sayaw, that makes it a lot harder. If we go later, tigadong, 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 intanu sabsi. That's pretty easy to sing. The problem with the next part is that a lot of the words were translated or changed over to other words. So in some other recordings, I think they're singing something differently. And in our book, we have nonoi nagtanao kong indai, which I think is actually sung pretty well. Like, I don't change any of the vowels. I think it sounds pretty close to what we were told. Do I feel like it's authentic? I have no idea. I have not looked at enough like recordings of people speaking in Cebuano. So maybe that should be the next step, is to look at people singing and speaking in Cebuano. I have heard some recordings of this song, particularly in Cebuano. However, it's not, I mean, I don't know how authentic it is or what they're doing in the sound, but I think it is from people who are Cebuano, or people who speak in Cebuano. So, nagtabi sa, what is it? So from D, if someone wants to look at the music, nagtanaw kang hinday, nagtabi sa ang laway, nagtabi say. See, that one also, nagtabi sa ang laway. A lot of times I just take off the Y because it's just too hard. I think that's one of the biggest problems, is like the diphthongs make it too hard to sing, even though I know it's nagtabi sai ang laway. Yeah. So from that, I think what we should do now is then listen to some people speaking in Cebuano. So let me look up speaking in Cebuano and go from there. So I want to listen to some people who are native speakers of this language, and so I'm gonna first listen to someone talking. I'm gonna listen to this person. This is by Jen Barangan. It says speaking Bisaya the whole day. So that's another name for this language.
Maayong bundag mga higala ug maayong pagabot sa akong istasyon ug karong adlaw aduna ko'y hagit nga pagabuhaton kung diin magstorya kog Bisaya sa tibuok adlaw. Pero sa dili pa ang tanan, ayaw kalimti sa pagsuporta sa akong istasyon. O sa pagpindot sa kampana para dili ninyo makalimtan ang akong mga bagong video. Sama ni Ning! Kung andam na ka, sugdan na nato. Niuli ko karon sa car, mo niya akong yutang natawhan. Ako ipaila-ila sa inyo ang akong pamilya. Nakaila naman mo sa uban nila, no? Kalisod man di ay ani. Actually dili ni lisod ang akong gibuhat karon, ang kani nga hagit. Ang lisod ani niya kay ang pagpadayon. Dili ang pagpadayon og pag Say Bisaya sa edit ang pagbutang og mga translasyon. Wow. Pagbutang og mga translasyon sa kaning nga video. Sakto ba matong Bisaya basta mako to siya. Og ako pa ilan ninyo si MM kailan naman mo niya no.
Maayong buntag.
Ang mama ni M, si Tita Alona, and of course, si Tito. Og syempre ang duha ka kasama ni Tagalog na pud. Ang duha ka bata, si Angel ug si Steph.
Okay, so that actually sounds interesting. I have never actually sat and just listened to people speaking in Cebuano. So that was actually really cool. I think what I honestly need to do is probably just keep listening to people speaking in it. What I find is what's interesting as well is that looking on YouTube is that a lot of Americans are learning to speak in Cebuano, and they're trying to speak it in a lot of videos. So that's actually really interesting. So then the next step is to honestly just talk about how now I need to change my focus over to Hawaiian. We're about to sing a new song in Hawaiian, which I'm kind of excited for, but I'm a little nervous because I don't know if they are going to add in parts of like helping with pronunciation just simply because we live in Hawaii. We did already sing in a Hawaiian song last performance. However, and we were not given instructions on how to pronounce these words. We were just kind of told, just start singing and sight reading that song, which I can sing now if we would like to. I had to practice that song a lot by myself to get it to where it kind of is okay. And then now we're doing a new song called Ulu Vehi o Ka'ala. I don't know how well that is actually being pronounced at the moment, as I have never taken a class in Hawaiian, and I have been given some guidelines for pronunciation. However, I do not feel comfortable still speaking or singing in the language. So this is why I chose Hawaiian as my next one. Especially, we're in Hawaii, so we should definitely look over that. I'm going to go over this other piece that we sang. I don't know if it's on here. I don't see it. So, I guess we won't do that today. But it's a Hawaiian piece. And, okay. So, this is the concert. So I guess what we'll do then is, I think what I'll try to do is then read through the words without having read through them before. I'm not going to sight read it right now, since that would be the other step to do. However, a lot of times when people are learning to sing, what we'll generally do is take off the words and just sing it on a la, or do, or do, and we won't worry about whatever the words are saying. We don't usually add the words in until we know the tune well enough, and then the words are added, and then emotions and knowledge of the words kind of gets put into play, especially also making sure to sing it correctly. So a lot of the diction has to be correct. And if the words are hard to get out with the tune, a lot of times we will take off the notes and just say the words on the rhythm. So if I don't know at the moment if this song is going to be difficult or not with singing it in Hawaiian. However, I mean, that's a good question. But I think the first step, if I were to do this, would maybe sing the words or say the words on the rhythm that it's written in. So right now it'd be meka ipo one, or hone, I'm not sure, because it's meka ipo hone hone, but it's all eighth notes. It's in 3/4. So meka ipo hone hone. Okay, and okay, amo uluwehi kalu na oka ala kahiko ia maila eka ohu ala vakuuma kailu na u, so na u. And then for the altos there is a rest. So I guess we say nue ala vaku so ala vakuua ma kai la lo kanula li aka vai li ula awa. See, and I do have a question of when the W is pronounced in a V and when it's pronounced as a W, or when that is. And my other question, I'm not going to sing the rest of it at the moment because I kept seeing the W, and I know that in words such as Hawaii, it would be Hawaii, but I don't know about this one word. It says awana. Is it awana or is it alvana? I'm still not sure about that. Ole. Lei. And then there's one, this is interesting. It's lei, L-E-I, as in like wearing a lei, and then le, which is right after. So it's L-E-I, then L-E. So that would be a very close, they would be very close in pronunciation, and I do have questions about that. I'm actually going to write this down in my notes, and I will post what that looks like as well. So, and a lot of times too, singers will write in IPA. So what we'll do is we'll have pieces of music, and if there is an IPA translation or IPA format we can find about this specific song or lyrics, then what we'll do is that we will write it down in our music as that. So I'm gonna go to, okay, yeah, so there's another one too, ule vehi, I'm not sure, so I need to write down something in my notes. But for other ones too, this le and then le, I don't know, I guess le, and there is enough time to make that differentiation, as the first le is L-E-I, but it's worth 2 beats, so it's a half note, so it's worth 2 beats, and then there's a quarter note, which is shorter, so I think it might help with it being naturally sung the way it might be said. And then hua meka ipo hone oke au moe. Pamai kama kani he moa e. I do know, I think that when it's words with an apostrophe, I wish you could look at the lyrics I'm looking at. But there are words such as moa e. There is an apostrophe between 2 of the vowels, moa and e. And if I recall, that kind of creates a separation and like a glottal stop. Or, yeah. So it would be moa e instead of just moa e or moe. So moa e. Moae. So I think there's that glottal separation. And then there's one right after as well, the ho. So it's ho inoi. Ho inoi. So I think it's another glottal stop. Okay. And ipili ai meka ipo hone oke au moe. Yeah, so I think that will be the biggest struggle at the moment, is that it'd be really nice. I think the only other good thing though is that, well, I don't know if it's good or not, but with the writing system that they've created for the Hawaiian language, it is more phonetic than I think for other languages. I think the same actually for the Cebuano, it's more phonetic than maybe for some other languages. At least what is written in our music. So that has been really helpful. So it hasn't been as hard to pronounce things, I think. I think the biggest question is always, I think, with like things like ao. I think it is ao, as in ah, and then the u sound, which creates ao for things like au. But I think diphthongs are going to be really hard. Diphthongs, the W, which I have questions about because I don't know if it's always wa or va. And then also things like with certain words as in lei and le. So is it lei and then le? Because they can sound very similar and they can be pronounced very similar. Yeah, so that's what I think I'll have to go over. And then also there's this one word, it's N-U-E, N-U-E. I should actually look that up. N-U-E, N-U-E, is it nue or is it nue or is it nu? I don't think it's nu, personally, but it might end up being that way too, as if like when we're singing it. So I'm gonna have to write these notes down and think about it a bit more and maybe I might have to ask my director on the pronunciations. I think that's the other thing too, is that since we are at a school in Hawaii, that many people here would already know how to pronounce all of this music. However, being from out of state, and it's gonna be harder, I think, for someone like me who did not grow up hearing Hawaiian or taking Hawaiian classes or singing Hawaiian songs in school. So this will be more difficult for me, which is why I probably need to do some more research. So what I think I'll do next, okay, I have 20 minutes. What I think I'll do next is I will go over, maybe I'll look up, these are things I need to do. So maybe, I think for the first thing is watch more Cebuano videos, watch more people speaking in Cebuano. I'm gonna write these in my notes actually. First thing, listen to more Cebuano. So I'm gonna write this in my notes. Listen to Cebuano. Next thing is ask about Hawaiian pronunciation. Because that will help a lot. Another thing which we need to talk about is listening to Hawaiian. And probably, this also goes with the ask about Hawaiian pronunciation, is probably studying it more, looking up some books about it in the library. That might help. I think the other thing is, like, if I were in another state, or if I was in somewhere like Kentucky where my undergrad was, I do feel like we would probably focus more on these words and how to pronounce them, and would probably listen to more recordings of them singing in this language to help with this. Yeah, so I don't think we have enough time in choir. We don't get enough time in choir a lot of the time to go over a lot of this simple stuff. So I think that would make it harder. But I think this is a good list to start out with. So I need to listen to Cebuano, ask about Hawaiian pronunciation, listening to Hawaiian, and then looking up about it in the library. Now, I will say that I have gone to the library for Cebuano. It is harder to find information on Cebuano. I don't know why that is. I guess because it is a variation, or I don't know. And still the question too is this a dialect? Is this a language? Because when I was talking to a lot of the other classmates in choir, they, were looking to the other people in the class who spoke in Tagalog and then also Ilocano, and I don't know exactly like what the differences are or how they are different in pronunciation or things like that. And that's what I was also confused about, because a lot of them would go, well, like, what does Paul say about, or what does this person say about how to pronounce this word? Or, and then somebody who can speak Ilocano would like correct us on our pronunciation. But to me, I was like, oh, well, you know, I think they're different languages, but maybe they do have similar pronunciation guides. So that is the other question. But I would love to learn more about Cebuano. I think it's really interesting, especially, and I just saw a video too. It was really cool. It was talking about the differences between Spanish and Cebuano. So that would be interesting to look at as well. So I think that's where I'll end it now. I think going over the Rosas, Pandan, and the Cebuano and that, I honestly had no idea that it was pronounced that way. And listening to the video recordings honestly changed my opinion on how it's being pronounced. And I really want to get better at imitating that. I think that would be better. And I think for the next semester, I don't think the rest of this semester we will sing Rosas Pandan anymore in the choir. But maybe next semester we definitely will. So that's what I'm hoping for. So then maybe I can improve my pronunciation on it even more. I will say personally, I didn't think that I got it to the most authentic sound that I could. Obviously, after hearing somebody actually speak in Cebuano. So I think that's something that I will definitely have to work on, is listening to more recordings of Cebuano and maybe trying to imitate it myself, or look at the phonetic writings of it in the music again, and then trying to think of how they're pronouncing it while speaking. Definitely might help in my pronunciation, as I was not aware of how it really sounded. So I think that will definitely help. And yeah, I think that's where we are right now. It's a long list, so I have to listen to Cebuano, ask about Hawaiian pronunciation, listening to Hawaiian. I've heard a lot more Hawaiian, so I think that would maybe be a bit easier. Yeah, I've heard a lot more Hawaiian singing. I've heard a lot more Hawaiian. I know a lot more Hawaiian words, I think, living here. And then looking it up, which thankfully we're in Hawaii, so where's a better place to learn about Hawaii and the language? So I'm actually really excited. And I also recently got Queen Lulu Kalani's songbook, which I would feel like it would be great to kind of incorporate that into my study in some way, or use it for my paper at the end of this semester. So I'm really excited, and I think this is going to be great.